If you're just beginning to Photoshop, or if you want to learn Photoshop, this tutorial will be for you, because you will want to edit the photos you've taken or create something from scratch. Say you want to make a YouTube cover, or if you want to make something in After Effects, we can make it easier in Photoshop. For example, if you're trying to convert a photo to PNG and then use it in After Effects. That's why we will be needing to know Photoshop. The best way to begin to Photoshop is to know its fundamentals, just like the other programs. This tutorial will be for those that haven't used Photoshop, so let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and as soon as we enter it, we get a window like that, and here it shows us the most recent things that we have created, and over here on the right we can change the look of it if we want to. Up here we got a few tabs, and if we click on them we get even more tabs. So I will be teaching you the basics. You won't be an expert in Photoshop just in one video. There are more than 10 hours of courses for that. So what we will be needing here the most is this new on the file, or we can click on here as well, create new, and that is how we create our new project. So let's say we are creating a YouTube cover or banner or an Instagram post, then we would have to choose a few settings over here. If we were to create a YouTube cover, we would have to choose 1920 by 1080. Dimensions should be like that. And say we create an Instagram post, then we will have to choose 1080 by 1080. So here we got different measurements, and if we were to click on centimeters, it converts right after, or anything else, they convert automatically. And resolution usually stays at 72, but if we were to send it to a print, then it will be often used 300. And you could think of resolution as high quality. It also goes by DPI, so 300 DPI. We got here color modes, and if you are designing for social media, it's okay to keep it at RGB colors, and if you are designing for CMYK colors, if you are designing for print, then we can keep it at, it's often CMYK colors used. So, but since we are designing for social media, I'll keep it at RGB, and I'll change this to 150. And here we got background settings. I usually keep it at white. Our background will be white, and when I click on create, you will see what I mean by our background. We got black, we got transparent background, but I usually keep it at white. Here we have our presets, and if we are sending it to print, we got print materials here. If we were designing for websites, for mobiles, we can see our saved projects here. So I'll just click on create. I'll do white background and click on create. So this will be our background. So here I will be showing you what these upper tabs do, and when we start from file, we have already seen what new does, and we got this option for open. If you wanted to open a photo in a new tab, then I'd have to click on that, and that's what I'll do. I'll open this photo, and as you see, it opens in a new tab. Browsing bridge, we don't need to get confused by that, because bridge is another program of Adobe, and close all closes all the projects and everything. Here we have save as. If we hit on save, it saves our project as Photoshop file only, and if we hit on save as, then we would get more options like GIF, JPEG, PNG, PDF, and everything around here. Place embedded, place linked, we can import photos from here, just like I dragged from my folders. We can also choose these options. So we got here, we got print, and if we click on this, like when we are done with our project, if we hit on print, we got some more settings for print, and that's pretty much about it for file. On the edit tab, what I could show you is that if I were to import a photo from my folder, and if I were to regret doing this, importing this photo, and I want the white background back, then I would hit here on undo or Ctrl Z, then I'd get back the white background. And if I wanted to get the photo back, the last thing I did, if I want it back, then I'd hit on redo. It also has a shortcut by Ctrl Shift Z. So what else we got here? We got fill, and to be able to use this fill option, I'd have to rasterize my layer. And so fill basically fills out these empty spaces, taking some from here, from these pink spots, and it would fill out these empty spaces. But for that we would have to select it, and selecting it, we will select a little bit from here as well, from the pinks, and we would get the fill option here. So I'd leave the settings as they are, and as you can see, it filled out the empty space. So we got free transform, and when we click on free transform, we get this box and the mouse icon changes, and when we drag and move, we can transform our photo. So I'll hit back, I'll hit undo and put the photo back, and when we hit on transform, we got some options like we can rotate 180 degrees. I'll hit undo. We can rotate 90 degrees. I'll hit Ctrl Z, and we can flip horizontal, vertical. On the image tab, we got modes. We can change colors, current colors from RGB to CMYK or vice versa. We got adjustments, we got some settings here, and we can see these adjustment settings on here as well, on the bottom right side. When we click on this icon, we get the same settings. We got some color settings here, image size, if you wanted to change our image size, if you want to play with our image size, say if you want to change this to 1080 by 1080 or resolution, if you wanted to change that, then we could hit on image size and we can resize our image. So what else is left to see here? You will be seeing in the later of this video. Not much left to see here. We got filters, some settings from select, zoom in and out from view, so I will be showing you in the future of this video. So before going to the tools that are on the left side, I want to show you that, let me first delete this photo and import another. So I'll just drag from my folders and import here, and if I were to scale it, I wouldn't have to press anything, just left clicking and dragging. But if yours comes like this, it's because you're using the previous versions of Photoshop. So Photoshop has made it easier on the latest versions to scale it proportionally by having us not pressing anything. We can just scale it and it scales proportionally. So I'll hit on undo here and scale it without pressing anything. But if yours is like that, then you would have to hold Alt and Shift to scale it proportionally, or just Shift, I don't know, depending on the versions of Photoshop. We could get this box to transform or rotate our image by pressing Ctrl T, or just by going here on the Edit tab and Free Transform. So we can scale it proportionally. So let me show you what these tools on the left side do. So when we right click on them, we get some more tools, or if we left click and hold. So this move tool, I'll start from here. This move tool, if I click on that and just drag, click and hold and drag, it moves our photo. I'll hit undo. So these are some selection tools. I can make a rectangular selection, elliptical selection, if you were to select a ball, I don't know, or if you were to select a television with a rectangular tool. But we will have to hold Shift for proportional circle, and I'll hit Ctrl D to deselect. So with this rectangular tool, if you were selecting a television or something, I don't know, if you were selecting this window, we will be using those for easier selections. We got lasso tool, and lasso tool is like free selection tool, and wherever you drag your mouse, it follows to that direction. So I hit Ctrl D to deselect, or I could just go here from select, deselect. We got polygonal lasso tool, and this is wherever I just click, and wherever I drag, it creates straight lines. So I click and drag, click and drag the mouse, click and drag, and if I wanted to, you see that it follows my direction everywhere, and if I wanted to go back, if I made a mistake with my selection, I'd have to hit on backspace, okay, and then it goes back to my first line. So I'll do it again, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, and finish my selection. So it selects out the windows. So I'll hit deselect. If you don't have this object selection tool, it's because you're using the older versions of Photoshop. So, but don't worry, if there are lots of ways to create selections in Photoshop, so you got plenty of options. But what this tool does is that, Photoshop is just trying to make it easier for us. So what is to make selections? So what this tool does is, if I want to select this window and make a selection around it, it selects it mostly accurately. So if I want to select this door, I'd make a selection around it. And if I wanted to add more to this selection, because sometimes, it doesn't select accurately all the time, but yeah. So if I wanted to add more to this selection, I'd have to hold Shift and I get this plus icon. So I'll make another selection to it and it adds more. And if I wanted to extract from this selection, I'd have to hold Alt and make a selection around, and it extracts the selection. So I'll hit Ctrl D to deselect, and for me to show you in another way, I'll import this other photo. So if I wanted to select this woman, I'll make a selection around and it selects it accurately. So depending on the complicated things that we have in our background, it selects accurately or it doesn't. If we have lots of things going on here in the background, then it would have a little trouble selecting, but yeah, it mostly does accurate work. As for quick selection tool, this follows the edges and makes a selection around, selects the edges and follows them. So I'll have to click and slowly drag for it to make. As you see, it follows the edges and makes a selection around that. So if we went a little far with our selection, we could hold Alt key and drag around to deselect the unwanted parts. So this is basically quick selection tool, and we got Magic Wand tool. This selects the areas that have similar colors. So if you wanted to select the background only, we would click on once and we get the most of the background part selected. Or if you want to add more, we can hold Shift and add some more to that selection. So if I want to remove these parts, I'll go to quick selection, hold Alt to extract some of these. So you see how this goes. These are also some of the selection tools here. We use crop tool to trim or expand our photo, so I'll go to crop tool and make a selection like that if I wanted to see only this part of the image. So as you can see, we also get different size for it. So I'll hit undo, or if you wanted to expand, I'll make a selection like that, and we get some extra areas to fill our photo with other things. So I'll hit undo. We got frame tool. So this one is used to create placeholder for other images, and so we created this frame over here, and if I import another photo, so if I imported another photo over here, it pastes right into that. So as you can see, it's pasted into the frame. So if I want to make this look more realistic, I would have to work more on that, cleaning its background, playing with its perspective, and so, but here you get the idea of how this tool works. I'll delete that. We got eyedropper tool, so we basically select the colors of the areas we want to. If I want to take this green, I'll just click on that, and we can see its color code here. So I could copy it and work with that color in my other projects. We got spot healing tool, removes it. It's used to remove marks or stains. So I'll make a selection around. So as you can see, it removes the areas. It removes marks. So we could also use patch tool. It also can be used. So this one replaces this selection with the other areas of the image. So if I were to select this, and while having this selected by clicking, holding and dragging, so it replaces with this area. So I leave, I release, and we have this removed. So I'll go back, I'll hit undo. So if I were to replace it with, if I were to drag it around here, you will see what we got. So we would have to be careful on that. Same goes for here. So I select, I drag this selection, so I want it replaced with this area and not over here. So we have it removed. We got brush tool. This one paints over an image. If we want to, we got some settings over here. If you want to play with its settings, if you want to have a softer brush, harder brush, if you want to play with its size. So it's also used from time to time. If you don't happen to see this circle thing, if it's plus for you like this, then you would have to turn your caps lock off. It's because you have caps lock on. So, and then you see your brush thing back. We got clone stamp tool, and to demonstrate that, this takes from one place and pastes into another. You see that I can see another 9. So to take from this 9, I would have to hold Alt key from, so you see the icon changes, to hold Alt and just paste over here if I wanted another of this sign. And if I wanted this removed, I would take from here and paste over here. You see that it has a little bit of hardness when it's showing us how the image is gonna look like. And if I wanted it pastes in one click, you see. And if I wanted to have it a little soft, then from the settings I would have its hardness at 0, and when I take from here, you see that it has a little softness to it. And then just I click, hold and drag. We got eraser tool. If we had other images here or so, we will just erase them with eraser tool. I would have to first rasterize our layer. You just click OK, and that's how it's done. I'll delete it whole, erase it whole. So yeah, that is for eraser. I just hit undo. To demonstrate how this gradient tool works, I'll just hide this first and have our background layer open only. So if I were to drag from left to right, it creates a color combination between colors. Like it creates a soft transition between colors. So if we got some settings over here to play with, I can give it another color, you see, from left to right. So it will be from green to yellow. So if I drag from left to right here, we could also drag from right to left or down to up, or vice versa. We get a good color combination. And it's either, we got also other settings over here, and we mostly use either linear or radial gradients. So if we were to use this one, we get something like this. We get with radial, we get something like that. So it's either those two for me. And we got paint bucket tool, and I'll undo those, go back to our photo, and paint bucket tool basically pastes the colors to similar colored image. So if I were to demonstrate that, I would with eyedropper tool take from this greens and go back right to paint bucket tool, so it pastes to similar colored images. So I will paste it over here. I could also paste over here because they have similar colors over here, and the wall is green. We got blur tool. So if I wanted to blur places of the selected, I could click and hold and drag. We have blur strength at 50%. We could make it, if we wanted a stronger blur, we would make it 100, and it blurs out the places. I put it back to 50, and we got sharpen. If you wanted to sharpen an image, we will just click and drag, click, hold and drag. We got smudge tool. This one softens the colors, like as you can see, it softens the color and smudges. We got dodge tool. what dodge tool does is lightens the areas of colors. So as you can see, it lightens the colors. Burn tool darkens the areas of colors, it makes them darker. We got something similar called sponge tool, and if we want to give colors more life, then we use saturate. This one either gives the colors life, more life, or takes the life out of colors. So if we have saturate here selected, it gives more life to colors. As you can see, it makes them stronger, and if we select desaturate, it takes life out of colors, it makes them weak. So we got pen tool, and to demonstrate that, if we were unsatisfied with what our other designs, other selections have made, for example, if we were unsatisfied with this, we would need to use pen tool. Pen tool is mostly used, it's often used to create more accurate selections. So we will zoom in and select carefully, and by the way, I zoom in by pressing Alt and dragging the mouse wheel. We also got a zoom tool for that. We can press Z or go over here and just click, left click, it moves in, and if you want to zoom out, press Alt and click, it zooms out. We got text tool, so we can just click and type, I don't know, type in anything, your name. We got some settings for text tool over here, and if you don't see the settings, then we can just go over here, window, character, and you get some extra settings. So I'll close that for that. You can also choose paragraph for some paragraph settings. I'll close this for now, and we can make our text bigger by selecting it and dragging from here, from left to right or right to left if you want to make it smaller. And if you want to give our word some space, like if we have it like that, and if we select those, if you want to give it some space from up to down or take away the space from down to up, we use this. And if we want to give space between letters, then we use this called tracking. So we increase this by dragging, or we can also type in here specific number if you want to, or just select from here and give it a specific number. Same goes for those if you want some space. If not, we keep here. We can change the color of our text from here. We also have it up there. We got some alignment settings over here. So I'll just click OK for now, and I'll hide those for now. So we got this shape tools, rectangle tool, ellipse tool, triangle tool, and you might see people using shape on their designs, shapes, and some might use rectangles, some might use circles. So, and to make that here, I'll just click on rectangle tool and click, hold and drag, then we will get something like this, and we could put our text here, and there we have our YouTube cover. So it has a black border over here, and to remove that we would have to, it's called stroke, and we would have to make it 0. We got other shapes here like ellipse tool. We can hold shift and it creates a proportional shape, proportional circular shape, and if we don't hold shift it creates shapes like that. We got, same goes for others, triangle tool, line tool, it creates a single line. If we hold shift it creates straight line, and if we stop holding shift you can move it as you please. We got custom shape tool, and this one has its own settings. We can choose some presets from here, and it has leaf trees, wild animals, flowers. So I'll pick this one, create a shape, and as you can see, we got a shape. You might see people designing stuff using these custom shapes, but we obviously have to match our design. This one doesn't match, so we will have to match our shapes with our design. Lastly, we got hand tool, and if I were to zoom in, and while having hand tool on, by left clicking, holding and dragging, I could move and see if I have other changes to make. So I'll zoom back out, and that will be it for tools for now. So the way that layers work in Photoshop is that we can see on the screen what's up there first, and we can see on the screen what's down there second. If it makes sense, we will dive right into that. I will show you in detail. Or sometimes at certain times we won't be able to see what's down there at all, because we have our layers filled with other things. So as you can see, we have this main photo down here, and we have this rectangle up here. So if I take this rectangle down, we can't see it, and if I take it back up, then we can see it. So if I wanted to give this rectangle a little bit of transparency to see what I got here on the main photo, then I would go over here, opacity, and take it down, and as you can see, it has a little bit of transparency now. I'll take it back to 100%, and say if I drag a random shape here, I give it a color because I think it has the same color. So I go over here, swatches, give this a white color, and if you don't see this swatches tab, you can go over here, window, swatches, check swatches, and you will have it, you will see it. So I can select this too by holding shift, and by either pressing Ctrl G or dragging them over here to group them. This is used mostly to not get our eyes tired. It combines, it groups two layers into one. So, and if I go to this move tool and move this and drag this, as you can see, they both move because they are in a grouped layer. And if it doesn't move for you, it's because you have this auto select checked, so you should uncheck that and see for yourself. So, and if you want to take this out of the group, we have to select them and select them together by holding shift and just pull them up. You see that blue line, so it takes them out, and we can delete our layer by dragging them into the trash can or just by hitting delete. And this eye icon, we can toggle it on and off to hide or see our layers. This is what it's used for. We can toggle it on and off to hide our layers. So if I wanted to hide my background, my main photo, if I wanted to hide it, I'll just toggle it on and off or see it back. So that's what this eye icon is used for. And if you wanted to make our background full transparent, then like I will hide those, and I should even hide my background or delete it. So this is not transparent, this has a white solid to it. And if I hide this, you see there's boxes or I don't know what to call it. So these boxes, this screen is the way of Photoshop to show us what a transparent background looks like. So if you have a screen like that, it means you have a transparent background. I will give this flower shape a color, drag it into the middle. So we have this flower on a transparent background right now if we have our screen like that. And if I turn back on our white background, then this is not transparent, this is on a white background. We will see about adjustment layers now. So I'll turn this off, I'll turn back our main photo on, and to go into adjustment settings we have to click on bottom right over this icon. So first thing we got is solid color, and I'll click onto that. So what solid color basically does is that it fills the entire screen with the chosen color. So if I had it on different color, you could see the change of the color. So because the adjustment layer is on the top, it affects all the layers that are below. So if I had this down here, we wouldn't be able to see that black screen. And if I wanted to give this main photo a little bit of darkness, then I would have this solid adjustment layer selected and take its opacity down, and we got a darker look to it. By toggling this eyes on and off, we can see the difference. So I'll delete this. We got brightness and contrast that we can use for same purpose. So brightness is also used for making our photo darker or lighter. So if I drag this on the left, our photo becomes darker, and if I pull this on the right, our photo becomes lighter. And contrast shows us the difference between lighter colors and darker colors. So if I had this on the left side, on the dark side, then if I were to turn this on the right, the blacks become blacker, and if I turn this on the left, blacks become gray. And same for lighter side. If I pull this on the right now, the whites will be whiter, and if I pull this on the left, whites will be gray. So I'll delete this too now. We got curves that could be important for us, and we get a box like this and a line like that. So I'll close these tabs first to get more space. So we pull 3 marks over here, and this is up here we got highlights, on the middle we got midtones, and down here we got dark tones. So if I pull this dark tones down like that, you see blacks become blacker, and if I pull this up, lights become lighter, whites become whiter, and if I pull this down, whites become darker, become blacker. We got midtones over here, which we could also play with them. So yeah, you get the idea. Curves can be also useful to fix our colors in an easy way. So I'll delete that too. We got black and white, and we got some other settings to black and white that we could show in detail. So we can take a look on this photo, and we got reds, we got yellows, and these ones are used to make the reds. For example, if you want to make reds darker, we pull this on the left, and if you want to make reds lighter, we pull this on the right. So we will dive into that right now. So we got these reddish tones over here, and I'll turn this on by toggling this eye, our black and white filter. So as I said, we had reds on here, and if I pull this on the left, as you can see, the reds go darker. If I pulled it on the right, the reds go lighter. So, and if I want to, same goes for other colors. If I were to put yellows, if I want to make yellows blacker, darker, I could pull them on the left. If I want to make greens, I'll keep greens. I'll make greens a little bit lighter. Cyans also a little bit of light. And blues, magenta, so we get something like this. So I'll just delete this black and white filter, and as for filter tab, we got a few settings that we could use. So here on the blur tab, we can, this one is most commonly used. The others are a little bit of same. They also add blur effects, but Gaussian blur is mostly used because it works faster. So we can play with its strength by dragging this right and left. If we wanted a stronger blur, then we will drag on the right. So we can uncheck this without to see what our photo looks like and what will become of it over here. We can just see it right after by checking this preview or unchecking it. So yeah, I'll hit undo. We can add some noise if you want to. Same here, we can play with its strength. We can check or uncheck this. I'll hit undo again. And we got sharpen, unsharp mask. It adds it has this kind of effect to that. We can see from before and after. So we got this awesome thing called Camera Raw filter, and this is like the other program of Adobe called Lightroom. This is just like that, but applied to Photoshop, and here we got everything about colors, and if we want, we can give this auto color correction. We got this option here, and if we don't like the auto correction that Photoshop gives us, but I think it's already done a good job, but if we don't like it, we can deselect it and go to here over the settings. Then we got, when we open basic tab, we got the settings. If you want some blue look to it, we can play with temperature. If you want yellow look, if you want green tint, purple tint, exposure effects, lights overall of the photo, so turn on the lights, turn off the lights, contrast, makes whites whiter, makes darks, blacks blacker, highlights affects the certain points of the lights, unlike exposure, so turn on the lights, turn down the lights, turn off the lights. Shadows affects black parts, whites affects whites, so if we want to make whites whiter, we drag them on the right. If you want to make whites darker, we drag them on the left. Blacks affects blacks. If you want to make blacks whiter, we drag them here on the right. If you want to make blacks darker, then we drag them on the left. And if you want some type of sharpness, we drag this too on the right. If you want some type of sharpness on our photo, so we got, as you can see, we got some type of sharpness here. Saturation and vibrance, we can, by selecting those two, we can make our color stronger or weaker. So if I were to take this on the left, it takes away the colors, it turns them into black and white, but we don't want to drag them, or like we don't want to make them too strong. we would keep it around 5 to 10. And say if you played with those too much, and if you want to reset those to 0, and you don't have to go over here and just selecting them one by one by holding Alt, by pressing Alt and holding it, the Alt key, we get this reset option for everything here. So hold Alt and click and they all reset. We got curves, as I said, highlights, darks, shadows. So highlights, turns on the lights, darks, we make it a little bit of darker, shadows, darker shadows, lighter shadows. So Alt and reset. If you want some sharpening, like we did before, we got this option for sharpening, noise reduction, Alt reset. We could use this color mixer. So HSL stands for hue, saturation, luminance. So with this hue tab, we could change certain colors to different colors. We can change reds to orange. We can change oranges to yellow, yellows to green, blues to purple, as we already could. And here from this saturation tab, we can make reds stronger, certain colors stronger. So like if I want to make reds stronger, we got this tab here. If I want to give yellows a stronger color, or if I want to take away the reds or yellows. So if I want to take away yellows, as you can see, it takes them away. We barely got yellows. If you feel like you want to take away some type of color, then you just drag them on the left. If you want to take away greens, as you can see here, the colors are taken away. Or if you want to make them stronger, so if we want to make the yellow stronger, we got these options. Or we got this luminance tab, and if you want to make yellows darker, we could pull them on the left. If you want to make yellows whiter, we can pull it on the right. Or if you want to make greens darker and whiter. So I'll hit reset on that as well. We got optics. We can distort our images like that. We can add a vignette look to it if you want to wanted to give it a dramatic look. We got geometry settings even to make it to give it a better perspective if you want. We got some presets here. I'll hit reset on that as well. We got another option for vignetting if you want a stronger vignette. Option for grain. So I'll hit reset on that as well. So we will try to create our thumbnail now, and to do that, firstly we need to open this layer, turn it on, and we need to clear the background of our main object. So to do that, I go by having this layer selected, I go to object selection tool and make a selection around the object. So some people either use masking like this to cut out the object from the background, but I mostly use Ctrl J, so it puts it into another layer. I hide this one. I'll move this to somewhere around here. I will be giving the background some type of blur, so I go filter, blur, Gaussian blur to give it this look. And next we will be seeing some other options for removing background from our photos. We got this photo in a separate background, and I'm going to show you how to remove the background with some alternative ways. So firstly we got object selection tool. We would make a selection around the object, hit Ctrl J, we got it on a separate background. We could as well as use this masking tool, so we will have it on a separate background. I'll hit Ctrl D and undo. We got quick selection tool. We could make a selection carefully of it, and we have it selected. We got magic wand tool, so since most of our background is filled with greens, I'll have this selected, so it selects most of the green areas. I'll unlock our background, hit delete, and we have it on a transparent background, so I'll hit undo. We got select, color range, and whatever we want to cut needs to be over here on the screen, needs to be completely black. So if we had it, we would first with these select greens, and if we had this like that, or if we drag this over here and if we had it like that, then it wouldn't work out. Our photo needs to be completely black like that, so I'll drag it over here, and with this one we would be giving Photoshop more details of what we want to cut. So I'm selecting all these green areas. So basically I'm telling Photoshop to be more accurate about our photo that we want to cut. So it selects out the green areas, and I'll hit OK, and we have most of the parts selected. I'll unlock the background and hit on delete. We have it on a separate background, and next we are going to make a thumbnail. So while having this in a separate tab and while having it with a transparent background, having this move tool selected, I'll click on it, hold and drag onto our main project. I'll hit Ctrl T, scale it up, find a good spot for it. I'll delete this text that has your name on it, hit delete. By pressing T, I'll create another text, or by going over here. So German, that's what we are making a thumbnail for. So I'll have my mouse cursor go over here, click once, hit enter. I'll select only this German part. So, and over here I could make it bigger, so 50. I'll give it a little space. We could select whatever we have in our layer by pressing Ctrl A. So I'll select them all. I'll give them some space. Okay, have the move tool selected, move it into a different spot. So what YouTubers love doing mostly is that adding some type of borders on their thumbnails, so that will make sense now. And when we have our layer selected, by double clicking on the right side of our layer, we get another tab and we have these options. So what YouTubers love is that adding this, it's called stroke, and it adds this type of border on the internet. So we could play with its size. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, we could have it come from the inside, center, so it comes from both inside and outside, but we will have it on the outside. We could play with its opacity if you want to drop it, if you want to make it less strong. So we could change its color to a different one. But yeah, we will have it on white, and I'll leave it like that for now. As for text, we can double click on the right side again, We could add some shadow if we wanted this text to pop more or so. We could add some kind of shadow to it, and we get some settings. So we could increase its opacity over here. I'll have it at 75. We could play with some settings over here. So if we have it spread too much, we get a blur effect like that. Same for size. We could make a bigger size or smaller size. So I'll keep them something like that. So we can see the before and after version of this. If you wanted this text to pop some more. Or we could play with its angle as well, where the shadow is coming from. So if I were to increase the distance, you could see we could change its angle. So I'll have it kept at 90 and decrease the distance. So you could see the before and after version of this, but I'll uncheck that for now. I'll add a black stroke to it. So I'll give this a black color, decrease the size. I'll have it kept like that, and yeah, the position should be outside. I'll hit OK, and there we have our thumbnail ready. So I'll choose a different font for this text. I'll have them selected, or hit Ctrl A, go over here. I'll choose Roboto for this one. So our project is done and we want to save it. We go up here, File, Save As, Save on your computer. We will have desktop selected, JPEG over here, and click on Save. So what I could warn you about this is that we could change the quality over here, and there are some cases that we can't always keep it at maximum. We would have to reduce the quality. There are sites that don't accept like too high quality photos, and we could see its size over here, so we could reduce it. If that's the case for you, you would go over here and reduce it to the appropriate size. So that will be it for this tutorial. We will hit save, OK, and it's saved. Congratulations if you made it this far. I hope this wasn't too long or too complicated for you to understand. If I managed to teach you something, please consider subscribing my channel or hit the like button. That will motivate me to create more videos in the future. So thanks for watching and see you on the next one.